Hello everyone, this is Urjit Prasanna Bhavsar from Parbhani, Maharashtra, and this video is being brought to you by Parbhani Astronomical Society and Asian Institute of Science Research and Education, Parbhani. Today in this series, we are going to talk about how the students of Parbhani launched and prepared their own research payload satellite in Parbhani itself. And this video is going to bring you deep insights into all the technical aspects and everything that you require to make your own research payload satellite. So, starting with the timeline, how did we start this mission? How did we get this idea that we can also make this research payload satellite and we can also launch it in space and we can do all sort of such stuff? So firstly, I would like to mention and thank Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam International Foundation, Rameshwaram. This was actually the photo that you see on the screen is actually from the hands-on experience webinar, which was actually organized by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Space Research Payload Cubes Challenge 2021. So this was actually a mission wherein 1000 students across the country got the opportunity to have hands-on experience on how do we make satellites, how actually they are made, and all the different aspects regarding electronics and everything. So this was actually a very very big opportunity for us, students like us. Sorry for that. So this was a great opportunity wherein we got to learn, we got to have hands-on opportunity on what are actually these satellites and how are they made. So what basically we learned over there was like satellites are not like something very great and we can also make them. So this was the basic thing that we got to know after having this hands-on experience, that yes, we can also make these, and if we dig deeper into it, we can also launch and conduct such a mission. And when we came back home in our city, some students, a group of students, we started to brainstorm about what can be done in this regard. Now, coming over here, I must mention that we have pretty well developed scientific research attitude in Parvani. We have a very good environment where people from various sectors, various professions, they come together and share their ideas regarding what can be done into different sectors of science. Parbhani Astronomical Society also provided us with various opportunities to indulge ourselves to explore our scientific temperaments. Now, over here, when we got to know that yes, we can also make this, we started on our individual level to see what are the possibilities and how we can also implement these ideas and make a research payload or a satellite. Now we headed next, and we got to know that we are actually very less experienced, we are inexperienced, and also have very less knowledge about electronics especially. So here comes our technical mentor, Mr. Smith Kumar Suryavanshi sir, and I thank him from the bottom of my heart for his support throughout the lockdown. Actually, everything that he has done has been online, and everything from the hardware and to the software level, every support, every technical guidance has been given by him. Thank you, sir. It is only because of you that we are here having launched our research payload. Thank you for your consistent efforts, sir. Next, we headed on to actually gathering all the hardware that we required for building our payload. So we decided to make a payload which was actually from 650 grams to 800 grams, and we actually wanted our first prototype to be viable. We didn't actually aim to make it under 50 grams. So we actually started with the first step to gather all the electronics that we needed. So our aim was simple. We wanted to measure different factors like temperature, humidity, atmospheric pressure, and such things. So we actually headed up to we actually finalized the hardware, and then we actually ordered all the electronics, and we got to know that we were actually short on one analog pin. Now, what is an analog pin? So when you decide to make something which is actually going to act with sensors or going to collect data, we are going to have a microcontroller with that. So what is a microcontroller? So it is actually something that acts with or works with the help of sensors and actually helps them procure data and collect it into a readable form. So with that brief description, I would like to move ahead and The next step what we did was we actually started making a prototype. So every one of us had task to make our own prototype ideas and designs. So we actually used Tinkercad over here to make our own first prototype over here. So tinkercad.com again is a website wherein you can go and make your own 3D designs, circuits, or code blocks for free. You can also make your own account over there and start doing tinkering over your different ideas. So we use Tinkercad, and this is how our first prototype looked like. And this was actually made by me. So actually, this is a prototype wherein we used solar panels, and it was pretty stupid to at this point to add solar panels into this prototype. I will talk later. I will talk about how this design was actually stupid. So yes, next we had the power issue. Like the amount of power that we required for our payload was quite significant. Like if you see the power draw from the ESP8266 module, we actually decided it would be our fundamental microcontroller as it had Wi-Fi inbuilt. So we thought that why not use ESP8266 for the project. So here we actually didn't have that much of clarity while building this payload for the first time, that what are going to be our end objectives. So we thought we would add LoRa, or we would add some RFID sorry, some RF transmitter or something like that for the communication with the ground station. But later we came to know that the all the sorts of wireless communication devices that we have, which are interfaceable with the Arduinos or the microcontrollers, those have actually very limited range, and they are very insignificant when talking about very long distances. Now here this problem was actually solved by one of our team members, and we had a great idea coming up that why not use 4G for communication. So we actually used a geo router. So this was actually a router which connected with our ESP8266. So what happened is this microcontroller collected all the data from the sensors, and it gave the data to the router via, it used the router for connecting it with the internet, and through internet we got the data on thingspeak.com. So that was our host, and we got all the data over there. So this was the communication strategy that we made here, and we were pretty sure that it wouldn't work when it went above certain altitude. So yes, we knew that it won't work, but we actually were pretty uh, basic at the time, I would say. So we weren't actually having that long term vision over there. So the next thing was, how are we going to establish connectivity with the ground stations, because these routers are actually designed to be used within the uh, like on the land, not in the air. So we had to make certain adjustments with the antenna so that the router could also catch the signals whilst it is in the mid-air. We also made those antennas. We also made the into certain the enclosure so that the range wouldn't be affected. Next, the problem of the power source was actually mitigated by this batteries. These are 2600 mAh batteries from Roofer, and it offered quite a lot of power for our payload to work for a couple of hours. Next, we had another problem, and the problem was very simple yet subtle. Even if our payload was ready, we couldn't find the GPS module to be working quite well. We had one problem, that we would be actually launching this payload and it would be coming back to the earth. So once the launch vehicle leaves it to a certain altitude, it would come back to the earth, and we had the problem that how are we going to locate this payload once it falls back to earth. Now, at this point, we were actually pretty unsure about what we are going to do, but then we came about using an inbuilt GPS module with the ESP8266 module. So we interfaced a GPS module with it. This is, I think, so Neo 6M, something the name of the GPS module. So we placed it into our enclosure, and this is how our enclosure looked like when it was first made. At this point, we noticed that the GPS module worked very fine, and we could get enough GPS coordinates on ThingSpeak. So we could just copy those coordinates from ThingSpeak and paste it into Google Maps. So we got the location right on the Google Maps. So this was actually the primary design, and it was pretty primitive. And at this point, we were not aware of the challenges that we were going to face in the future. Next, when we got to test the hardware of this thing, we actually tested it with a variety of temperature conditions. So firstly, the picture you are going to see on your screen, this is actually the temperature that is coming from the payload, and this is 33.7. Then we have humidity, then we have pressure, that is atmospheric pressure, and then we have altitude. So there is also one more factor, that is air quality index over here. So we used a MQ135 sensor to measure the air quality index with the help of the sensor. So this also provided us with whether the air is polluted or not. So that's quite helpful. Actually, in the beginning, we had one more sensor that was for measuring the UV index, that is the ultraviolet radiation index. So that sensor we intended to use on the payload so that we could measure the UV intensity. But as you know, ESP8266 module has only one analog pin, and this was used either was to be used by the air quality sensor or the UV index. So we actually opted out for air quality index use because UV index won't be actually that accurate when we are going to deal with a payload which is not fixed. It is going to move. So the sunlight, the intensity of sunlight that would be falling on the sensor, it would actually interfere with the results. So we thought of a more practical and a more useful feature. So we opted for air quality index. Next, this is how the temperature and the latitude longitude would look on the ThingSpeak dashboard. Then we also tested this into a deep freezer. We wanted our payload to be rough and tough, so we also dropped our payload right into a deep freezer, and we got minus 16.64 degrees Celsius as our reading. It worked pretty well, and this is how it looked after a cosmetic wrap with an aluminum foil. So this was the PBN SAT-01 mod, the first prototype or a model, you can say that. So this was actually the at the top you can see this is the BME280 sensor, and the nose kind of thing which you can see in the center. This is the air quality index sensor, and on the top there is the GPS module antenna. These solar panels are not actually much useful. I'll talk. I said I will talk later, but let me explain. This entire duration of flight for this is not going to be more than 10 to 15 minutes, and in 15 minutes if your battery is not able to last for 15 minutes, then you'll have to increase your battery capacity, not add solar panels to charge them. So solar panels were pretty unnecessary because the flight time of this payload was really short, but it did look cool, didn't it? So that was it. And then we had a discussion with the man behind this project, and who inspired us that yes, you can do this. He's Dr. Rameshwar Naik, and from Parbhani Astronomical Society, and he told us that yes, this thing is pretty good and you can go ahead with this. And he also told us to have some changes in the enclosure because the enclosure wasn't sturdy, and we all knew it because it was made out of cardboard. Next, after this discussion, we also had some more brainstorming sessions wherein we got different ideas of uh, where our payload lacks in terms of structural integrity and also some features. Next, we had a visit at Indrayani Mar, which is actually located at Mandakhari. So this is actually a place which is slightly elevated above the um, a normal altitude. So we got an advantage for our payload over here, and this is how we had a pre-launch study session over here. So all the team members and their parents, we all visited this place so that we could get to know better about the place from where we are going to launch our maiden payload. So over there we got to see that this place is quite remote and isolated. So yes, we got to know about the changes that we had to make in our antenna, and we also had to switch between different networks over there. So we weren't sure about if any other network could reach over there. So we were quite lucky that we had chosen Geo 4G for that purpose, because Geo 4G was the only network that worked over there. So yes, that was luck. Next, we had a discussion about how are we going to exactly go ahead with this session, how with this mission, and how we will be executing the launch process, how we will be having the data recovery and the payload recovery at last. So what we planned was we were going to launch it via helium balloon at first, but consequently we got to know that the helium balloon was actually a very very different thing than we thought of. It was really difficult to procure, and it required some legal things to be done by us. So it wasn't a feasible option for us, and yes, we had to think of some alternative launch vehicle for our payload to go into the skies. Next, we had this one more problem that was actually brought to us by our team member, that the GPS module wasn't working as intended. It was actually working at a very slow rate, so it was fetching only 2 or 3 coordinates within a time interval of half an hour. So we weren't able to get a consistent or a steady location reading from the GPS module. Now this problem was totally not up to the GPS module. This was problem of the aluminum foil enclosure that we had made. So what happened was this aluminum foil covering was actually interfering with the GPS signals which this antenna was going to catch. So we definitely had to change our enclosure, and in the next episode you will get to know how exactly did we redesign our enclosure, and what are the challenges that we faced in that enclosure too. So this was about the first episode of the series. And if you enjoyed this video, and I know if you are watching this video at this length, which means that you seriously have some interest into this field, and I would really appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.